After watching this video, you will clearly understand the differences between Lovable and Codex and who each tool is meant for. Later, I'm going to show you how you can actually use these tools together if you want. But first, you should know that both of these are AI agents that help you write code. Lovable's been around a lot longer. It's one of the first vibe coding platforms out there, and it's improved a lot since it first launched. And Codex is a tool from OpenAI that was launched more recently, which is really gaining a lot of traction. The biggest difference between the two of these is Lovable is more of an all-in-one platform. It's meant for beginners, while Codex is more complicated, but also more powerful. To help me explain, we are going to build the exact same prompt on both of these tools. I'm going to show you the differences, and we're going to see together how each of them compares. So here in Lovable, we can just send a prompt right on the home page. So we're going to build a landing page for a website that shows people the latest earning transcripts from stock earnings reports. Make it really nice and modern. Here in Codex, we're going to go ahead to the top left. We're going to start a new project from scratch, and I'm going to send the exact same prompt. We're going to use the high intelligence GPT 5.5, and we'll do normal speed. So you have more control over the model that you're using in Codex. So that's one difference right off the bat, where it's more technical, but more powerful. In Lovable, you don't have an option. Okay, so right off the bat, it looks like Lovable has this kind of plan page where it's going to start planning out what it's going to create. And Codex is just going to, I think, just start building. So it's going to see that, okay, the folder it's in has nothing in it. It is just an empty project. So it's going to see that, and then it's going to start building. Yeah, the workspace is empty, so I'm going to start to make this a polished static landing page. So something else you should know off the bat is that Codex is coding on our local computer. Now, you do have the option here to build in the cloud. It gets more complicated to do that, but right now, all the code is being written on our local computer. It's not in the cloud. It's building it literally in a folder on our computer, whereas Lovable is fully in the cloud. So, I could log out, log into Lovable on a different computer, and I would still have access to all of this, whereas a Codex is, just on my computer. So here on the left side, it looks like Lovable is already finished with its first version. And so we're going to compare the designs of both, the speed of both. We could also make this faster by doing the faster speed, but that increases the tokens that are used. Now, I will say I'm pretty confident the models that Lovable is using are probably less powerful and less expensive than Codex. With Codex, you get to use the most powerful models from OpenAI, and OpenAI basically subsidizes that with your subscription. But let's take a look. So the design here overall looks nice. Latest transcriptions built for analysts who can't wait for next day coverage. So I think it did a good job with creating like a little mock-up, adding, I think, like some gradient, which is really nice here. I think the design looks nice, but I'll be curious to see what the design here looks on the Codex side once it's finished, and then compare the design, compare the messaging. And then I'm going to talk more about what it would take to actually build this app with both of these tools and kind of what's built in and what's not built in. So Codex is definitely taking quite a lot longer, which again makes sense because it's using a more powerful model. We can see it is now rendering the landing page. The other thing, I'll just talk about some more differences now. Both of, this code is on our local computer. We could sync it to GitHub if we wanted it in the cloud. The opposite here is it's in the cloud, but it's not in our GitHub. But you can really easily sync to GitHub. So we can go down and actually sync to GitHub or GitLab. If you wanted to connect to GitHub here, you could just ask a Codex how to do that, and it'll walk you through step by step. So again, a little bit easier to do with Lovable. Everything is going to be just a little bit easier and user-friendly with Lovable, I would say, compared to Codex. Okay, so it's finding more issues. Mobile found an issue. The word transcripts was forcing horizontal overflow. So it's checking mobile, it's checking desktop. Again, my expectations are pretty high for this. Curious to see what actually happens. I just want to see it at this point. So I'm going to show you another feature that Codex has. So while it's running, we can send a prompt and we can use this button called steer. So steer allows us to steer the AI, and we don't have to wait for it to finish its prior prompt. This is something that is unique to the OpenAI models from what I've seen in Codex. So it's a really, really cool feature that I use all the time when I'm building with Codex. So I'm steering the conversation away from it's testing, and I just want to see it. So let's see what it does with that. So it's saying it's running now. We can open it on our local computer. So I'm going to click that link. And what's cool about Codex, the Codex app, is it does have this preview feature here built into the app. So we don't have to actually open a web browser. It's going to run it locally. But again, this is local on our own device. I can talk more later about how we could actually publish this. And it is not too hard to do, but there are a few ways to do it. Okay. So let's check it out. Off the bat, earning transcripts instantly. I like how it has this kind of movement on the top, move from call to conviction faster. So yeah, this spacing is off for sure, but it has more functionality built in. That's actually really interesting. So it did more functionality, but I think the design could be a little better, especially just with that spacing, but it kind of builds in real functionality, or at least like, I guess, fake functionality. So you can see what it's like. Everything analysts do after the call already queued from mega cap tech to small cap. Okay. So yeah, I would say it's okay. Honestly, I think I like Lovable's design better. And this is something that I think is interesting to note, is that Lovable is really built around building websites and building prototypes, whereas Codex is much more for building backend logic and really complicated apps. So from a design standpoint, I actually don't think Codex and these OpenAI models are the best. From a logic standpoint, they are amazing. So that's just one difference right off the bat. Of course, different models can be introduced all the time, but Lovable, if you just want a site that looks good, I think is a really good option. In terms of publishing, so let's move on to that now. With Lovable, it's as simple as just clicking publish on the top. You can add a custom domain if you want, or edit their website domain, and then you can click continue. And then you can also easily change some SEO options. So it's really good for easy publishing. Now with Codex, first of all, you're not going to have all these settings to easily update. You could say like, how can I publish this? And it's going to make some suggestions. So there are different suggestion options. You could sync this to GitHub and then connect your GitHub account to something like Netlify or Vercel. Netlify has something called Netlify Drop. You just literally drag and drop your project folder and then it'll put it online, just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. So that's a really cool feature if you just want to get something online quickly. But again, it's not as easy as Lovable. Now, to take things to the next level, like let's say you wanted to actually build out this app. So you could say, how could we actually make this app real with a backend? Just tell me. So I'm going to have Codex tell us. We're not going to build it out in this video because it would take a lot longer, but everything would be built out here. You'd own all the code. Everything would be on your computer. It's telling you, what services we could add, how we would add a backend, the data pipeline, all of this. With Lovable, it could do a lot of this as well. You could say like, how could we make this a real app? So you can see what it says. But there's some things that are really nice about Lovable, which is that it has a backend built in. So you don't have to add your own backend, whereas with Codex, you're going to have to add your own backend. So that could be something like Supabase, for example. Again, it's all possible to do, and there are benefits to that. Like you own your own database. You're not locked into like the Lovable database, the Lovable platform. But yeah, like it's just going to be easier with Lovable. And I think for an app like this, where it is fairly straightforward, you could definitely use a tool like Lovable. But if you want to start adding really complicated features and build a complicated app, you're going to want to potentially get off Lovable. And to do that, I'm going to show you what you can do. So you can go down to GitHub. We can sync our code to GitHub. Once our code is synced to GitHub, then we can access it on Codex. So we can access it on Codex, Cloud Code, anywhere we want. And it's the same code base synced to GitHub. And then we can also go to Lovable and make changes here. So once it's in GitHub, that's kind of like the source of truth, and you can access that code from anywhere. So hopefully this video demystified some of the differences between Lovable and Codex. To summarize, Lovable is for beginners. If you want something that's an all-in-one platform, easier to use, better design out of the box. Codex is the platform for developers. You want to own all the code and have it all on your computer right off the bat. You want the most powerful models that are best for backend logic, complex workflows, but not necessarily design. So that's kind of a high-level difference between the two. And it was cool to put the same prompt into both to see what we got out of initial prompt, just at least from a design perspective. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more free content like this. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video and what you want us to cover in the future. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.